So hamstrings, we're going to lean on my hands and push through the hands to roll my pelvis to the front of my sits bones, which is going to extend my back, and then roll it back down, making sure not to tense up my quads. Roll to the front of the sits bones. If the knees have to bend a little to keep the quads from activating, that's good, and roll it back to the back of the sits bones. Roll the pelvis up and forward to the front of the sits bones, and roll it back. And one more time, roll it forward to the front of the sits bones, letting the chest really push through, and roll it back. Now I'm going to take one hand in front of me, and I'm going to keep this hand in between my two legs. I'm reaching it straight up as I roll my hip over and allow my other hip, my weight to go all to the one side, and then bring it back in. And again, on that side, lift the hip to put all the weight on the other sits bone and rotate the spine, and still extending and coming back. And again, and I can turn my head away from my hand as well, reaching and twisting the spine and coming back. And one more time, up and turning the head away and bringing it back. And then the other side. And reaching it up, the hip goes up, I'm looking toward my hand, and then bringing it back. My left hip comes up, my right hip relaxes down, my legs rotate and come back, trying to keep my hand in my midline. And up and over, I'm turning my head away, and I'm bringing it back down. And again, lifting up, extending my back, turning my head away, and bring it back in. I'm going to take my right leg, and I'm going to just slide it out to the side, leading with my toes. And my weight goes onto my right hip, and then I'm going to pull it back in, leading with my toes. And I'm going to slide it out and slide it back in, and slide out, slide it back in. So my left hip is coming up to accommodate my right leg moving, just to get it smooth. And then I'm going to use my heel to lead. So my leg turns, my heel goes backward, I rotate my body, and then I change my heel so that my heel comes back in. And my heel rotates, I rotate my body and reach it back, get a nice extension, and then turn it back and bring it back over. And one more, rotate, heel leads, and stretch it back, and then rotate it back and bring it back in. The same thing with the other leg. So toes out and toes back in. And toes out, my weight goes onto the left sits bone, so I'm pushing a little bit over there, and come back in. And again, toes out, but I'm not actively lifting my hip on this one. It just does it naturally. And come back. And one more, toes out and toes back in. And now I lead with the heel on the left, so I rotate the leg, my heel bone goes backward, I twist, I reach it back, I feel hamstring engagement, and then I rotate my leg back down and slide it back in, leading with the heel. Rotate my leg, my heel goes backward, rotates me over, and I turn it and bring it back. And one more time, turn, pull the heel back, my spine extends out, and I turn it back and bring it all the way back in. All right, so laying on my back, one leg bent in, my legs are a little bit apart, my elbows are together. I'm going to push with my foot that's on the ground to roll my hips over, extend my hip, and I'm going to lift my arms up a little bit to extend my upper back. My elbows are trying to stay together. They don't have to totally stay together, but I'm trying to get extension in my rib cage and in my spine, and then bringing it back. And I'm going to do that again. So I push through the foot, roll the hips over, extend the spine. Take a deep breath into your rib cage and bring it back. Make sure you're not holding your breath. And just one more like that. Push the foot, roll the hips over, extend out, and bring it back. And we're going to do the same thing on the left. So push through the foot, roll to the right. My hands go up, I extend my spine, and come all the way back. And push through the foot, it rolls my pelvis over, all my weight goes onto the right side of my body as I extend up and bring it back in. And one more time, push through the foot, reach it out, opening the front of the left hip, and bring it all the way back in. I'm gonna stand up and only do this if you're well warmed up. My legs are wide, my feet are angled diagonal, my hands are on my ankles. I'm going to straighten one leg and slide my pelvis over to that side. And then I'm going to bring it back to the center. I'm going to do that a few times. Slide the pelvis over and then bring it back to the center. And one more time. Slide it over and then bring it back to the center. So now I'm going to straighten that left leg again, but my pelvis is going to stay in the middle. So I'm going to have to keep my chest in the middle and lift my left hip up in the air to straighten my leg. So I extend by rotating my pelvis, and this hip goes up in the air and come back down. And one more time, stretch and come back down. And now you can either rest or you can go right to the other side, stretch the other one, and bring it back in. So the hips go over to the side and bring it back. You might feel your adductor and your medial hamstring a little bit. Stretch it out, or a lot. And then straighten it, keeping your pelvis in the middle. And bring it back. And again, keeping the pelvis in the middle. So my body had to figure out to lift this hip because for some reason it wanted to lift the other one. And again, I'm lifting it up. And this hip goes up and it tilts down, and then I bring it back in and rest.